You're welcome back from that quick timeout. It's still daybreak here on Trust TV, and it's time for us to get into our newspaper review. Starting off with Daily Trust. Boldly there on the front page of Daily Trust, federal government opposes National Assembly proposals for 200 new varsities. Senate reps mum. Sangaya schools to get food, vocational training for Amajiri and grants for teachers. You find that on page 4 and 5. Still on Daily Trust on the top left, bandits abduct 10, injured 2 in Kaduna midnight attacks. CBN, NSA go after Naira hawkers and abusers, and federal government to mandate use of Nigerian airlines for official trips. Now at the bottom, VAT remains 7.5% as reps adopt tax reform bills, and Buhari reaffirms loyalty to APC after Erifai's defection comments. Bala Mohammed declares Obi, Nigeria's opposition leader. We take drugs with stream water, FCT community residents say. Those are the stories we have there on the front page of Daily Trust. Do well to grab yourself a copy and keep yourself informed. All right, now moving over to the next, we have Guardian. There on Guardian, dearth of first-class solution mocks high turnover of varsity geniuses. Wow, all right. Still on the top left, no amount of coalition can oust Tinubu in 2027, says Teller. Natasha, Senate President, National Assembly clerk orders face contempt charges, and Fubara asks Assembly on Supreme Court ruling amid Fubara taxed Assembly on Supreme Court ruling amid calls for CJ's probe. PDP reps passed amended naughty tax bill, retained 7.5% VAT, and Nigeria risks disaster from over 1,226 open mine pits, experts warn. Obi's return to PDP imminent, engages party stalwarts, governors forum. Again, TCN battles vandals, has 4 towers collapse, worsen grid supply. Angote Foundation launches 16 billion naira food aid for 1 million Nigerians, and inmates dying in custodial centers due to poor feeding panel fines. Well, these are the stories you have there on Guardian. Do well to grab yourself a copy and keep yourself informed. Now on Punch, federal government knocks Obsanjo as ex-president rates Buhari worst in corruption. Presidency lampoons OBJ for warning Tinubu government may dwarf Buhari's fraud index. All right, and still on Punch, suspension. Embattled Natasha files fresh suit against Senate backs Akpabio. As Senate backs Akpabio. Federal government, foreign airlines begin talks over rising fares, and PDP governors Obi and NPP mull alliance to stop Tinubu. Still there, TED Fund plans 700 billion naira disbursement to varsity, and custom intercepts undeclared $1.1 million at Kano Airport. 4 subsidy removals save Nigeria from bankruptcy, says Tinubu. Those are the stories we have there on the front page of Punch. Do well to grab yourself a copy to keep yourself informed. Now, joining us to take a look at some of the headlines and give us his insights on it, we have Nuruddin Abdullah, editor, 21st Century Chronicle, as he's joining us in the studio this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Lillian.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, a couple of stories piqued my attention on the papers this morning. But let's start with this proposal for 200 new varsities. Federal government opposes National Assembly proposals for 200 new varsities. What's your take on what is leading on Daily Trust?
I think the minister's argument, I'm not an educationist, let me put it that way, but the minister's argument, I think, is not tenable. I think. From what you said, we have about 250 universities across the country, serving 230 million population, with an annual enrollment figure of 875,000, less than a million. So what we are seeing here is this: every year, less than 1 million Nigerians get placements in Nigerian universities. So the figure is not, this 200 proposal is not new. And I don't know where the minister is coming from. He's coming from a background of having a university that will take an entire town, or half of a town, or an entire village. That is not it. Travel overseas and see what happens. You go to even Egypt. Some are just 2, 3 structures. You know, we have this mindset of this, can I say maybe post-independence universities, like the Ahmadu Bello, for instance, an entire town, excuse me, or Bafemi Awolowo, that they will take an entire, we're talking about hectares. That is not necessary. Look at it. What is the teacher? And maybe the minister is coming from a background of having one teacher in an Abuja university teaching 1,000 students in a poorly lit theater with student hangings on windows and what have you. That's the background he's coming from. That is not it. How can a teacher, Lillian, mark 1,000 papers? They don't even have functioning public address systems. He wants to see a university that's a behemoth. ABU, OAU, UI, UNILAC, you know, and the likes. They will take half of Abuja. Go to University of Abuja now. Go to New York. Yeah, I was in Dewey. I visited most of this university. They are not as this big. And look at what should concern him is not the number, but the enrollment figures. According to him, he said that less than 900,000 Nigerians have been enlisted every year. Meaning that out of the 230 million Nigerians, less than a million are getting placement in Nigerian universities. If we have, let's say, 500 universities serving 230 million Nigerians, look at the ratio. What is the student-teacher ratio?
You know, we'll get to this story on Guardian, but I remember 2 experiences I had with university and education. I remember at a point in time where I went to a university in the East, IMSU precisely, and they were having classes. I wasn't enrolled there. I just went to see what was happening. And I thought there was a tsunami happening or something, because I was just sitting in one of the classes and everybody started tripping in from the windows trying to hustle a seat. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And they literally pushed me off my seat because they were trying to get seats. But coming down here to University of Abuja, where the classes are very big and comfortable, you know, we didn't have to rush for classes, but we had one thing our teacher told us, which back then it sounded like a joke, but now with what you've said, I realized that there's a problem. He said, I don't have time to mark your script. From matric number 1 to 100A, 100 to 150B, 150 to C. The rest of you, go and meet who gave you admission, because I will not mark it. And that brought me to the ratio of students per teachers. But let's take a look at, Guardian, the death of first class solution mocks high turnover of varsity, genuines. We're seeing that first class is no longer, even if they have it, it just mocks the fact of having it, because most of them are, for the lack of better word, most of them can't even be employed because they can't defend what they graduated. But what's your take on the headline on Guardian?
I'm not saying that is not a problem, but coming from the background of what we had in the in the past, there are universities that they say, I came from a department that's having first class is a no.
Yeah, it happened to me as well.
No. Clearly, I remember my undergrad. It's no.
They say you can
it is not that it is your effort. No, it is the policy.
See.
So we had some faculty members that believe that no, you can't even graduate at so and what if you. So it is not the fault of the students. But coming to this, it is the system that you should change. Some of these universities, particularly the private ones, I'm not saying all the private ones are bad or are good, but It's just like secondary and primary schools. Maybe minus, let's say the federal capital, maybe some 1 or 2 states. Go to their public primary and secondary school. A student will graduate from primary school level without even knowing how to write his name. You understand? So the issue is structurally. There is nothing getting first class.
But can you defend it?
Let it be. That is what it should work on.
All right. Let's move away from education, because if we start, we're not going to finish on that. Federal government to mandate use of Nigerian airlines for official trips. What do you make of that?
Nigerian Airlines. It's not necessary. I hate this pseudo-patriotism. Do you have a national carrier? The one that Buhari did, you remember? You borrow an aircraft for 24 hours, paid for logo in area 1, and 24 hours to the end of his administration, they unveil it. Where is it now? See, let's deal with mundane things. It's just like the national carrier. Do we actually need it? Apart from that egoistic pretenses. A minister's wife can delay a national carrier. A minister's son can delay a commercial that belongs to the federal government. It happened in the past. But officially, what? Allow people to have their choices. You say they shouldn't fly first class. Let be it. Give them their BTA. Let them have their choices. They are Nigerians. You cannot force a federal official to patronize an unserious airline operator. There are some local airline operators that are so terrible. They will cancel your flight without a word. There are certain local airlines that are using bouncers as ground handlers. You know what I mean? They will cancel the flight, they will delay it, no even a single word of apology. You approach them, they bounce you up. I had that experience in Lagos, for instance. Then if, for instance, simply because I'm public official, then you are forcing me to patronize that. No. We are not North Korea or one. Let's do the things that are mundane. Do you understand? Or something is happening elsewhere, then officials from point A are moving to point B, and only you force them to use this airline that is so, that whose second name is cancel flights, delay flights, and what have you.
You know what I said when I saw this story? I said, please, they should rather mandate all government and public office and people in leadership position to use the primary health care center in their constituency instead of doing this.
God bless you.
Let's start from that one first, and then we'll see how they can implement it.
God bless
but
you.
Before we go, reps adopt 7.5% VAT, reject increase to 15% by 2030. Now, what do you make of the recommendations the reps made regarding the VAT? We saw how it's been a lot in everywhere, but it's still trickling into the news as progress is being made.
So I think what I observe from the entire thing is, it is not every time that you'll use hammer to kill a fly. You remember how this VAT something was almost tried to ignite a north-south war, religious-based wars and what have you. But it has been. So there are certain things that if we are calm and serious, we can resolve them. And look at it now. At that time, they said it is this, it is this, it is this. But look at the resolution. Almost at the consideration, close by close consideration yesterday, they almost adopted the entire report. And that is what we should have done from the beginning. There are procedure. First reading. You remember a deputy senate president was almost crucified for presiding a plenary that passed the same bill into second reading, meaning that there should be public hearing. So there are certain times you don't need to use a hammer to kill a fly. Look at it now. There was public hearing because it's a legislative process. All manner of stakeholders gathered and voiced them. And their views were captured by the finance committee. And that is why even yesterday, close by close, they almost adopted the entire report.
All right.
So kudos for Nigeria. We should learn from this, please.
All right. All right now. Thank you so much for joining us. They just told me it's time, although I had a couple of stories to touch, but I believe that our listeners will grab themselves a copy of the dailies and read for themselves to understand what's happening in the country. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's always good to have you. All right, if you're just joining us, we've come to the end of the show this morning. We're just having a chat with Nuruddin Abdullah, editor to the First Century Chronicle, where we're looking at stories that made it to the front pages of our daily. But we've come to the end of the show this morning. It's Friday. You know, as you're going about your day, you know that it's the weekend. So take your time, relax. All the informative articles you've kept to read through the weekend, you've not had the time to. The weekend is the time to relax, read through them, keep yourself informed, and understand what is happening in the polity. That way you can hold the government accountable from an informed point of view. But on behalf of the production crew, my name is Lilian Ogazi. Thank you so much for sticking around. Bye for now.